Landman has it backwards, because the more the show insists on keeping Tommy Norris as MTex's president, the clearer it becomes that this role is actually the source of most of his problems, not the solution. The narrative keeps framing Tommy's presidency as a burden he has to endure for the sake of everyone else, but what it really looks like is a position that actively undermines the one thing he's genuinely good at, being a landman. Tommy works best on the ground. He understands people, leverage, timing, and unspoken pressure. He knows how to read a room, how to make a deal feel inevitable, and how to walk away when a situation turns toxic. That skill set made him valuable long before he ever sat in the president's chair. As president, though, those instincts are blunted. He's boxed in by optics, boards, investors, and legal exposure. Every decision has to be filtered through layers that don't respect nuance, and nuance is where Tommy thrives. The show keeps treating the presidency as a promotion, but it plays more like a miscasting. Tommy isn't a builder of systems, he's a navigator of chaos. A president needs to think long-term, delegate, and tolerate distance from the consequences of individual deals. Tommy can't do that without unraveling. He internalizes every loss, every delay, every betrayal. What would be manageable stress for a more detached executive becomes personal erosion for him. This is why his conflicts keep compounding instead of resolving. As president, Tommy is forced to own problems he no longer has the freedom to fix. He sees the solution, but he can't execute it. He knows when Galino is dangerous, but he can't fully cut him off. He knows when Cammy is making a risky call, but he can't override her without triggering political fallout. The role demands restraint at the exact moments when decisiveness is required. Ironically, stepping down wouldn't be an admission of failure, it would be an act of clarity. If Tommy returned to being a landman, he'd regain autonomy. He could operate in the gray areas where influence matters more than authority. Instead of being responsible for the entire machine, he'd be responsible for outcomes he can actually control. That shift alone would reduce the pressure that's clearly breaking him. The show also underestimates how much Tommy's presidency weakens his personal leverage. As president, he's predictable. Everyone knows his constraints. Galino exploits them. Cammy works around them. Investors pressure them. A landman Tommy, by contrast, would be harder to corner. He could move quietly, make side deals, and apply pressure without every action becoming a headline or a liability. There's a thematic opportunity here that Landman hasn't fully embraced yet. Power doesn't always come from titles, it comes from position. Tommy's strength was never in hierarchy, it was in proximity. He understood the land, the owners, the families, and the unspoken rules governing them. Sitting at the top removes him from the very environment that made him effective. Keeping him as president also muddies the show's emotional core. Much of Tommy's personal strain, his fractured relationship with his family, his constant exhaustion, his inability to be present, comes from the sheer weight of a role that never shuts off. If he stepped down, the show could explore a different kind of struggle, the tension between relevance and relief. Is he still powerful without the title? Does stepping back actually restore him, or does it expose new insecurities? Right now, the presidency traps him in a no-win narrative. Every loss is his fault, and every survival is someone else's doing. Galino becomes the savior. Cammy becomes the strategist. Tommy becomes the face that absorbs blame. That's not compelling leadership, it's slow erosion. The show insists this is noble sacrifice, but it increasingly reads as misalignment. There's also a credibility issue. The series asks us to believe that the best landman in the field is simultaneously the worst executive for the moment, and then acts surprised when the company falters. That contradiction could be intentional, but it hasn't paid off yet. Letting Tommy quit the presidency would turn that contradiction into a story choice rather than a lingering frustration. If Landman wants to fix its own logic, the answer isn't making Tommy tougher, more patient, or more self-sacrificing. It's letting him admit that the role doesn't fit. Stepping down wouldn't make him smaller. It would make him dangerous again, in the best possible way. Tommy Norris shouldn't be fighting to stay president. He should be fighting to get back where he actually belongs.